morning, I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Angela, and we're the Castros.
We bring you the news.
And the views that make you think.
Sometimes we agree.
Sometimes we don't.
This is News and Views.
And here are today's headlines.
The House Committee on Justice has postponed voting of the sufficiency in substance of two impeachment complaints filed against President Bongbong Marcos.
Senate President Tito Soto confirms that his post was allegedly offered to Senator Loren Legarda.
Tourism Secretary Cristina Frasco was grilled at the Senate over promotional materials that appears to highlight herself.
Pag-asa is monitoring tropical depression Bashang off Mindanao coast.
First in the news, the House Committee on Justice is set to vote today on the sufficiency in substance of two impeachment complaints filed against President Bongbong Marcos. During yesterday's lengthy deliberations, committee members stressed that the president cannot be impeached over allegations that he allowed the kidnapping and surrender of former President Rodrigo Duterte to the International Criminal Court. This allegation was included in the first impeachment complaint. Committee members also expressed skepticism that unsubstantiated claims regarding the president's alleged drug use could qualify as an impeachable offense. Several lawmakers further criticized the evidence submitted, noting that it relied heavily on news reports rather than first-hand or corroborated proof.
There's no impeachable offense. We all know that there's no kidnapping. Second, the arrest was by virtue of an arrest warrant issued by the International Criminal Court.
Senator Amy, the sister, admitted or alleged or announced that PBBM is a drug addict. Again, this is not a factual allegation but a conclusion that because Senator Amy admitted or announced that PBBM is an addict, then he must be an addict.
And for more updates at the House of Representatives, we have mobile journalist Amy Atienza on the ground. Amy, anong oras magsisimula ang hearing ng House Justice Panel?
Yes, good morning Angela Diego. Nandito tayo muli sa House of Representatives sa Quezon City at mamaya na ang alas 10 ng umaga. Medyo may konting delay lang siguro dahil inaayos din yung technicalities dito sa loob mismo. Pero inaasahan natin na anytime soon ay magsisimula na yung pagtutuloy nitong hearing or ng preliminaries pagdating nga sa pagdetermine ng House Justice Committee pati ng mga endorsers sa sufficiency in substance ng dalawang impeachment complaint laban kay Pangulong Bongbong Marcos. So kahapon narinig na nga natin yung ilan sa mga panig nung miyembro nga ng House Justice Committee pagdating dun sa first impeachment complaint na ifinail nga ni Attorney Andre De Jesus and endorsed by Pusong Pinoy Party List Representative Journey Jet Nisay. So ngayong araw naman inaasahan natin na magkakaroon ng konting rundown doon sa second impeachment complaint naman na in-endorse naman ng Makabayan Bloc Representatives. So yan yung asahan natin, and syempre after that discussion ay doon na nila i-determine at doon sila magbobotohan kung sufficient in substance nga ba itong dalawang impeachment complaint laban kay Pangulong Bongbong Marcos. So if ever daw na may isang insufficient at may isang sufficient, ay magtutuloy pa rin naman daw sa Step 3 yung magiging proseso nito. So sa Step 3 doon na sila magpapadala ng notices sa respondent kung saan pwede nga mag-reply yung respondent, which in this case is si Pangulong Bongbong Marcos.
And then, when do we expect a possible transmittal or dismissal? Within the week din ba, Amy?
Well, so far, nagkaroon ng press conference din dito yung ilang miyembro nga ng Justice Committee, wala pa daw timeline talaga na may bibigay tungkol nga dyan. So, expect na lang natin na if maging sufficient in substance nga ito, ay magtutuloy-tuloy naman daw ang proseso at narinig na din naman natin yung panig ng Malacanang. Though hindi pa ready yung defense team, yung legal team ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos, ay irerespeto naman daw nila yung magiging process nito if in case nga magtuloy-tuloy yung impeachment laban sa kanya.
Well, of course, ang tanong din dito because sa ilang naging interview or sa interview ni Representative Abante sa Storycon yesterday, sabi niya he believes that the complaint is insufficient in substance, no? Ganun din ba yung ibang mga nakikita natin na mga representatives dyan sa House of sa Congress, ano? Ganun din ba ang kanilang pananaw?
Well, Angela, kung napakinggan din natin no, yung mismong preliminaries dito sa Kamara kahapon, marami na yung parang nag-manifest na insufficient in substance nga itong first impeachment complaint. Dahil kung narinig din natin, 5 yung offenses no, na nabanggit, isa na nga dyan, yung sa kidnapping, alleged kidnapping kay former President Rodrigo Duterte. Kasunod niya na yung substance abuse daw na sinasabi nga ni Senator Amy Marcos na kapatid ni PBBM. Sumunod na dyan yung pag-formulate daw ng ICI para daw mapagtakloban yung allies. Tapos meron din yung sa alleged kickbacks na natatanggap ng Pangulo dahil nga sa flood control projects. At yung kinu-question din dito, naging aligasyon din ng first impeachment complaint, no, yung saan program appropriations naman starting 2023 to 2026 budget. So marami na yung nagsabi na dahil nga ang dinidetermine na dito ay yung allegational sufficiency. Kumbaga, sapat yung mga claims para nga magtuloy-tuloy yung impeachment laban kay PBBM. Nasabi nila na parang hindi naman sufficient ang mga ito dahil nga based on news articles at yung mga pieces of evidence din nasa annexes ay hindi pa sapat para nga maipagpatuloy yung impeachment laban kay Pangulong Bongbong Marcos.
Pero Amy, yung voting nila kasi 'di ba is as a whole, yung complaint, yung substance niya. So kahit yung una regarding the allegation of kidnapping hindi sufficient in substance, pero yung ibang articles sufficient in substance, maaring pumasa to going to plenary vote.
Yes, actually kapag napagbotohan mamaya after ng discussion naman nung Maza et al. Complaint nga na sufficient in substance yung first impeachment complaint, maging yung second impeachment complaint ay ayun na nga, magtutuloy-tuloy na sila doon sa third step ng impeachment kung saan nga magpapadala na sila ng notices at mag-file ng pleading yung respondent para madepensahan niya naman yung kanyang sarili.
Well, base doon sa obserbasyon natin yesterday, mukhang magiging, kumbaga magkakaroon lang talaga ng pagtatalo doon sa second impeachment complaint base doon doon sa ating mga napanood yesterday at napag-usapan doon talaga yung usapin ng unprogrammed appropriations. 'Di ba, na sinasabi nga nila na sufficient daw in substance yung kanilang impeachment complaint dahil dito. Can you tell us more about it? Ano yung mga naging kinahinatnan ng pag-uusap tungkol sa usapin ng unprogrammed funds?
Well, pagdating naman kasi sa program appropriations, kung naririnig na rin natin dito, no, nung talakaya naman ng 2026 budget, Angela, di ba? Parang nasabi nila na unnecessary na magkaroon nga nitong unprogrammed appropriations dahil doon naman daw kasi nagsisimula yung mga kickbacks, pati na rin yung nakukuha nga from the projects ng infrastructure. So yun yung dinadali ng first impeachment complaint na doon nga nagsimula yung corruption dahil itong alleged itong unprogrammed appropriations, natapat din siya doon sa first ground na inilagay nila, which is graft and corruption. So yun na nga, yung unprogrammed funds na yan, dyan daw nagsistart. And yun nga, nasabi kasi nila na wala kasi dun sa annexes, maging dun sa mga allegations na magsasabi na totally sufficient siya para nga maging impeachable act against an impeachable official.
Well, marami nga din of course sa publiko, no, sa ating mga kapatid ang may reservation dito sa magiging kahihinatnan ng diskusyon sa House of Representatives regarding this impeachment complaint because ang sabi nga nila, ang pinupunto, itong mga representatives na ito na nagdidiskusyon are the very same, almost the very same congressmen na pumirma din ng 2025 national budget na kino-question doon sa impeachment case na sinasabi nila papaano magiging fair itong Congress pagdating sa pagdedesisyon when in fact they are the ones who also signed the 2025 national budget na kapag pumayag sila sa impeachment then parang nangangahulugan na alam nila talaga na merong mali doon sa kanilang pinirmahan din.
Yes, and yun nga, Angela, hindi lang kasi itong 20th Congress yung nadali doon nga sa program appropriations 19 Congress din. So dahil nga dumaan sa proseso rin ng pag-uusap itong budget no dito sa Kamara at tinatransmit nga or pinasa sa Senado, syempre makikita rin natin no na itong unprogrammed funds or unprogrammed appropriations, talagang na-deliberate din sa Kamara. So dun mapapansin na baka nga may pagkakamali din. So titingnan natin if itong allegation nga na ito ay mapapagbotohan din ng House Justice Committee na sufficient, lalo na dahil nga kaya din natigil yung ating hearing kahapon ng mas maaga para nga daw ma-ponder, ma-decipher yung mga pieces of information na nailatag din kahapon.
All right, thank you for that, mobile journalist Amy Atienza. Malacanang says President Bongbong Marcos will review the proposed no-work, no-pay bill for lawmakers once it reaches his desk. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said the measure is a good proposal to ensure that public funds are not used by officials who are absent and not performing their duties. Castro clarified, though, that the president has not yet discussed the bill with its author, House Majority Leader Sandro Marcos. The proposed measure comes amid Senator Bato de la Rosa's continued absence in the Senate following reports of an ICC arrest warrant.
Pero kung pag-uusapan po in general, maganda po ito dahil po para malaman naman nila na mga taong hindi nagtatrabaho ay hindi naman dapat na makinabang sa pondo ng bayan.
Well, it's high time. My gosh.
Ginagamit kasi yung dahilan daw functioning ang office ng Senator. But, di functioning ang office.
Yung office yung...
sweldohan mo?
Yung staff.
Yeah, yung staff ang sweldohan mo.
Yung mga consultants, yung staff.
Sila sweldohan mo. Huwag mo i-cut off yung...
Huwag mo i-cut off
yung...
Sila yung nagtatrabaho
Huwag mo i-cut off yung budget ng office. Cut off mo yung sweldo ng absent.
Kasi sa regular employee, di ba, yung mga ordinaryong manggagawa,
kumikita
kapag
ng
hindi sila pumasok, wala silang
kumikita
bayad.
ng 600, 700, 800 a day. No work, no pay.
Totoo yan. And these are the people na lumalaban ng patas, ika nga, day in, day out, maagang gumigising, braving the traffic. And kapag di sila pumasok, wala silang kita.
Ikaw na supposedly nagtatago daw, hindi pumapasok, may pumapasok pa rin sa sweldo mo.
Not necessarily, totoo naman yun. Kumbaga, it applies to all. Kasi di ba over the years sa pag-uusapan na tong mga attendance, of course, ng House of Representatives, nagkakaroon pa nga ng balita, di ba, sino yung laging late, sino yung laging unang pumasok, at sino yung pinakamaraming absences.
Yes.
Di ba? And over the years, yun yung mga pinag-uusapan. And it's high time na gumawa ng paraan na, diba? Para maging fair lang din naman para sa atin, diba? Na kung hindi ka pumapasok, dapat di ka bayaran, diba?
Kasi galing sa taxes ng tao yan eh. Diba? Pinaghirapan ng mga tao yan tapos di ka lang papasok, may sweldo ka. Sana all.
So we'll see also, aside from this, itong measure na final ni Representative Sandro Marcos, because I think over at the Senate naman, on the 6th month daw ni Senator Bato de la Rosa na wala sa Senado by March, may mga reports tayong nakuha na magfa-file ng ethics complaint itong si former Senator Antonio Trillanes
yes, I heard
against
about that.
Senator Bato de la Rosa.
Mas lalo na ngayon nabuo na yung
We will also monitor that movement as well.
Mas lalo ngayon nabuo na yung ethics committee.
Yes. Right. Okay. Sige, we'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News.
I do not deny that the fact, nor do I shy away from it. But public office is not a family inheritance. It is a public trust.
You may all take your seat.
The intent of an anti-political dynasty law is not to single out families,
The
but
meeting
to
of the
strengthen
Committee on
our
Justice
democracy.
is hereby called to order.
leveling the- More than that, we will comply with it. No individual, no family, no institution should be above the law. This discussion should not be about who we are related to, but about the kind of political system that we want to leave to future generations. one that encourages fresh leadership, accountability, and equal opportunity for all Filipinos who wish to serve. I look forward to a fair, thoughtful, and constructive deliberation on this measure. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Erwin. At if I may say, mabuhay po kayo. Senator Kiko, do you have an opening statement? You have the floor.
Thank you. Magandang umaga sa kanilang lahat. Thank you for this hearing to our colleague, Senator Risa, the new chairperson of the Committee on Electoral Reforms. Kasama ang aking panukalang batas, may kabuang 6 na anti-dynasty bills ang naihain na sa Senado. Ilang kasamahan natin ang nag-uugnay sa patuloy na pag-iiral ng political dynasties sa mga hamon sa ating demokrasya. Kabilang ang hindi pagkapantay-pantay at mga suliranin sa pamamahala gaya ng elite capture, patronage politics, katiwalian at humihinang sistema ng checks and balances. Noong LEDAC meeting noong nakaraang buwan, nagsabi na rin ang Pangulo na gusto niyang i-prioritize ang naturang issue. Dagdag pa, matagal nang iniutos ng ating saligang batas. This coming February 2, 39th anniversary ng ratification ng Philippine Constitution. Inaprubahan ng 77% ng ating populasyon. Mula noon, dose-dosena ng mga panukalang batas tungkol dito ang na-file. Noong 18th Congress, nung ako ang chairman ng Committee on Constitutional Amendments, na aprubahan sa committee level ang isang anti-dynasty measure na sponsor natin sa floor. Majority of the members of the committee endorsed the anti-dynasty bill here in the Senate at that time. Nagkulang lamang sa oras. Higit sa lahat, sa usapin ng anti-dynasty, may clamor para dito. Batay sa Pulse Asia survey noong kalagitnaan ng Disyembre, mahigit kalahati ng mga Pilipino ang naniniwalang ang isang anti-dynasty law ay makakatulong sa pagtugon sa malawakan at systemic na corruption sa gobyerno. Malawakan, unprecedented, pinakamalaking corruption scandal sa kasaysayan ng ating republika. Perfect timing ito para ugatin ang mga problema, isulong ang mga solusyon, yung concentration ng kapangyarihan at kayamanan sa Pilipinas. Bibigyan po din nito ang may kakayahan at tunay na may malasakit sa paglilingkod bayan. Level the playing field, ika nga. Bibigyan po ang ika nga'y new blood para sa new old problems, di lang ng bansa, kung hindi ng ating buong mundo. Araw-araw, ang mayorya ng ordinaryong mamamayang Pilipino ay lumalaban ng patas para mabuhay. Sa bukid, sa karagatan, sa trabaho, sa opisina, sa negosyo. Subalit sa larangan ng politika, hindi patas ang labanan. Lalo na't pagbuong angkan ang kalaban ng iisa o iilang kandidato. Hindi ito makatarungan, hindi ito demokratiko, dapat baguhin ito. At yan nga ang layunin ng ating hearing ngayong umaga. Ayusin na at isulong at maipasa na ang makabuluhan at makasaysayang anti-dynasty measure. Salamat at magandang umaga.
Salamat, Senator Kiko. Attorney Chris, if we could continue with you. You started earlier commenting on the matters of degree, scope, and timing in terms of the 6 bills we're hearing here in the Senate. Ano naman kumbaga yung pwede nang pagsimulan? So we're going towards the house of this already. The minimum formulation that's still faithful to the Constitution's mandate. Another way of looking at this is, ano yung floor? Na kung saan, kung bumaba pa doon, hindi na talaga ito tapat sa hinihingi ng Constitution.
if you take a look at the proposals, it goes down to 2 degrees. Also, it does not include national positions, nor does it include barangays. Thirdly, if you look at the proposals, there is a provision in one of the proposals that if this takes into effect, once this takes into effect, those who are already sitting in positions are allowed to finish the term. In other words, if I hope I'm right in interpreting it, if somebody is sitting there on with the first term, and this takes effect, then that person or dynasty person can run for 2 more for 6 years. I don't think that's a good provision to on one end making it effective immediately, and then on the other side that you will reward existing elected people with the full term. So I hope that won't find its way into the law. The question is national. I think some people may find it objectionable to include that, because essentially when we say national, you're really talking about senators, right? And here, when it's if you say if your husband is a senator, then the wife cannot run in province, city, and municipality, and maybe including the barangay. I'm sure there are many people who may object to that. So we have to take a good look at that, whether 24 seats in the Senate should be covered by the prohibitions. But from my point of view, I'm sorry, but every time that's put to me, my answer is we have already suffered enough from dynastic clans. So if we're going to pass a bill, let us pass a bill that totally dismantles this feudalistic system. Because one, it's already been said, there's a problem of corruption. We're really facing 4 problems as a nation today. The federalistic system of dynastic clans, the corruption that goes with it, and third, and I hate to mention this, that there are real questions about whether the Supreme Court really has independence, because elected officials get their what do you call it? Their system from what's the word?
Senator Kiko mentioned mandate.
Yeah, from the people, but the elected officials get it from their independence. So we have a problem if the final voice in that system is not independent. And later on, if you allow me, I will tell you the cases that where I think that there is a real question as to independence. And the fourth that we face is again an attempt to revise or amend the Constitution, right? And here, at the head of it is always federalism. Federalism will just create 18 mini dictatorships in our country. I can give you the reasons why later on when in the discussions. But what I'm saying is we are now facing these four challenges in our country. And number one is the feudalistic system of dynastic families. So let's not finesse it or let's say, well, let's get a foot in the door. No, I think we should totally dismantle it.
Salamat, Attorney Chris, and also for mentioning that matter of some kind of a transition period within which to wean ourselves from political dynasties or wean the dynasties away from our electoral and political and governance system. That matter po of paano kung mayroong incumbent na. Once we pass the law, hindi ba dapat effective na kaagad yung ban or pagbibigyan pang i-serve out yung complete terms under the current system. So very important. At mamaya tanungin din po natin yung mga leagues ng ating mga local government units. Ano po yung insights nila sa tanong na ito. Just one more question from me for now, Attorney Chris, to the constitutional framers. A few days ago, a column was published by Francisco Tatad entitled A Constitutional Conundrum. Ang sinasabi po doon, labag daw sa karapatan ng mga miyembro ng dinastiya na limitahan ang kanilang kandidatura sa eleksyon. Kumbaga, kung pwede daw tumakbo ang karaniwang Pilipino, paglabag sa equal protection of the laws na pagbawalan sila. Quote, the commissioners, for all their good intentions, had misformulated the provision, and there is no way Congress can enact an anti-dynasty law given the existing premises that does not offend the Bill of Rights and the fundamental rights of innocent Filipinos, close quote. Ano pong tugon nyo dyan?
Well, actually, during the deliberations, if we take a look at the record of the commission, I must confess that if you look at it, September 23rd, 1986 record, I raised that question myself. I said that the prohibition should not be allowed because it's anti-democratic to disqualify from being voted upon an otherwise competent and honest candidate who happens to belong to a dynasty. That's the point, isn't it, of Tata?
Yes, it's the
All
point.
right. So, I lost the vote by one. But then they said, wait a minute, there was something wrong in the voting of 1718. So we will have another vote. And then my colleagues said, can we have a few minutes? Can you adjourn for a few minutes so we can talk among ourselves? So we talked among ourselves. But so after that, I changed my position when I listened to them, and I will read to you the reasons why. That it became clear to me that the benefits to the country of the prohibition far outweigh its cost. I admit there is a cost. I withdrew my motion for reconsideration and voted for the final version that now appears in the Constitution. I can go into all the reasons, but I wanted just to say that there is some validity in that argument. So we have to take a look at costs and benefits. And the benefits is more important where we open the door, really open the door for participative democracy.
Salamat, Attorney Chris. And of course, now we have the benefit of looking back at 4 decades of the current situation, kung saan ang klaro ng mga costs. And now we want to capture the benefits finally. Salamat po. Yes, please.
Can I just
Before
add
we move on.
that I also have looked at it now, and I'm afraid that, you know, after so much, first of all, it was so easy to get rid of the EDSA spirit. We thought it would last. it did not last very long because the politicians came into the picture. And I was once asked, did you make mistakes? I said, of course, we're human. We're imperfect people. But from hindsight, I would say that our two biggest mistakes from hindsight on what has happened, for example, on the feudalistic system. From hindsight, we may have made two mistakes. One is we underestimated the spirit of EDSA, and second is we overestimated the spirit of EDSA, and we underestimated the greed of politicians for power and money.
Salamat, Attorney Chris. And well, just for the record, I suppose kaming mga dumadalo sa hearing na to ay kabilang sa mga politiko na gusto pa ring i-sustain at bigyan ng bagong wind, no, yung spirit ng people power. So just saying po. All right, so let's continue by bringing into the conversation yung ating ibang mga legal luminaries, lalo na si Justice Azcuna. Kayo naman po yung aking tatanungin, Justice. Meron po ba kayong rekomendasyon sa kung anong klaseng anti-dynasty law ang pinakamabuting ipasa ng Kongreso?
Maraming salamat po, Madam Chair. Una-una po, gusto pong paliwanag na itong basehan natin sa ating mga proposals ngayon, anti-dynasty.
That is the ongoing hearing on the proposed anti-dynasty bill over at the Senate.
All right, Senate President Tito Soto confirmed that there were moves to unseat him from his post. He said the Senate presidency was allegedly offered to Senator Loren Legarda, but she declined the offer.
Totoo ba na dinanggil yung Senate presidency kay Senator Loren? You have that information?
I heard that. I was told.
You were told by Sen. Loren?
Yes.
Despite this, he stressed that support for his leadership within the Senate majority bloc remains solid. Meanwhile, Soto said that the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee is set to discuss today or on Thursday the drafting of a partial report on its investigation into alleged corruption in flood control projects.
So hindi delikadong lumipat ng bakod si Sen. Loren kasi solid ba siya sa inyo?
Oo. Oo naman, ang buong majority namin very solid. As a matter of fact, mga dalawa sa mga hindi namin kasama dati, baka mapasama ko eh.
At this point, let's get the latest over at the Senate from our mobile journalist, Merimon Reyes. Merimon, what's new there?
Angelo, good morning. Bukod sa kasisimula lang ng Committee on Electoral Reforms na pagdinig tungkol sa anti-political dynasty bill, ang Ethics Committee rin nag-start na rin kanina organizational meeting na preside the Chairperson Senator J.V. Ejercito. At ang last time na nasabi niya sa atin, bukod sa organizational meeting, sa committee nila pag-uusapan ngayon kung ano nga ba dun sa mga ethics complaints yung kanilang mga uunahin. Plus yung mga i-adapt nila na procedure, na guidelines from the past Congress. Pero on the side naman ng Committee on Electoral Reform, so far kanina nagsalita si Attorney Christian Monsod, ang nasabi niya dito, pagdating daw doon sa degree ng magiging scope ng anti-political dynasty bill na makakraft, dapat na rin daw isama ang barangay na entrenched na raw doon dahil yung quasi-legislative, yung executive power na meron ang barangay, malapit siya sa mga tao. So, doon pa lang daw, dapat magkaroon na ng paglilinaw at masama na siya doon sa prohibitions ng anti-political dynasty or the establishment of political dynasties.
Mm-hmm. Okay, para lang ma-refresh yung ating mga viewers, Merimon, can you tell us also who are the members of this committee on ethics?
Yung pagdating doon sa Ethics Committee, napalitan nga from the minority, from Senator Bato de la Rosa, Senator Joel Villanueva, kasi raw merong conflict of interest, sila Senator Amy Marcos, Senator Rodante Marcoleta ang pumalit, and then supposedly sila Senator Kiko Pangilinan kasama from the majority, pero kasi si Senator Kiko, si Senator Erwin Tulfo, kasama muna sila ni Senator Risa sa hearing ng Committee on Electoral Reform. So tingnan natin kung sakaling matapos yung round ng questions ng mga senador na to, kung lilipat sila sa Ethics Committee organizational hearing naman. Pero so far, sa side ng electoral reforms, ang nakita natin nandoon na Senator Erwin Tulfo, Senator Kiko Pangilinan, and Senator Risa Ontiveros.
Well, sa usapin ng leadership shake-up dyan sa Senado, of course, pinag-usapan yan yesterday, according mismo kay Tito Soto, na si Senator Loren Legarda yung parang pusuan nila na pumalit sa kanya pero hindi ito nag-prosper. But of course, meron din mga pahayag si Senator Robin Padilla regarding na if ever daw, kapag natuloy-tuloy yung impeachment complaint against a Vice President, mas maganda daw sana ay mapalitan o iba yung Senate leadership. So, ano ba yun? Paano ba, how should the public take that statement from the Senator?
Angela, ang sabi kasi ni Senator Robin Padilla nung una, para saan daw nanggaling yon na meron kailangang change of leadership? Kasi so far, for him, parang okay pa naman daw. Pero kung sakali, magiging open na siya dun sa idea ng possible change of leadership kung impeachment na raw ang pag-uusapan. So nilinaw namin, impeachment ba? Nino. Kasi marami-raming mga umiikot ngayon ng mga impeachment. May mga filed na sa Kongreso. So ang sabi niya, yung kay VP Sara kasi makasara siya, maka-VP Sara siya. So pag doon niya tinitignan ngayon na hopefully kung magkakaroon ng change of leadership, kung may pagkakaloob daw, it will come from the minority. Walang sinabing pangalan, wala siyang binabanggit kasi wala naman daw siyang sinasabing gusto niya, pero kung mapagkakaloob from the minority, pro-bayan daw, pero nung natanong din ng media, pero supportive of VP Sara, sabi niya, oo raw, wala na raw plastikan sa part na yun.
Alright, maraming salamat sa iyong oras, mobile journalist Merrimon Reyes reporting live from the Senate. Now in weather, Pag-asa is monitoring tropical depression Bashang. Its center was last spotted some 895 or 895 kilometers east of northeastern Mindanao. Bashang will make its initial landfall over the eastern Mindanao on Thursday or Friday. It will then traverse the landmass of northeastern Mindanao and central and western Visayas. By Saturday afternoon, Bashang will cross the northern portion of Palawan. For now, signal number 1 is up over the southern portion of Surigao del Sur.
Don't go away because we're not done yet. Please stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching News and Views here on One News.
The House Justice Committee resumes deliberations on the impeachment complaints against President Bongbong Marcos. The panel is expected to vote today on the sufficiency and substance of the complaints. Let's watch this.
The national infrastructure budget into a centralized apparatus for plunder. Sa isang dokumentong nirelease ng DPWH Office of the Secretary na kapetsa ng July 2022, nakasaad doon na ang BBM parametric formula ay ginamit para i-prepare ang 2023 National Expenditure Program, kung saan ang managed portion ng formula ay may clause na nagsasabi na, and I quote, priorities of the leaders of the national government and the legislature will also be considered in the matter of infrastructure budgetary allocations, which allowed ang technical flood risk data ay ma-override ng priorities na ito at nagresulta sa paglustay ng pera ng taong bayan para magtayo ng mga proyekto sa area na di kailanman at di angkop sa lugar na kinatayuan para lang may makuhang kickback ang mga opisyal at kontraktor. Ang formula na ito ay hindi lang nakapangalan or nakapalayaw sa acronym ng Pangulo na BBM, pero siguradong dumaan din sa mata ni Pangulong Marcos Jr. at pinangasiwaan taon-taon. Meron pa nga pong declaration, Madam Chair, si incumbent DPWH Secretary Vince Dizon that they will phase out the Cabral formula in the future NEP preparations. Pumaldo dahil pinadulas ng DPWH sa ilalim ng Pangulo ang sistema ng nakawan na nakatago mismo sa proseso sa pagbabudget ng pondo ng bayan. nakakasira sa tiwala ng Pangulo, ng publiko, ang pag-imbento ng isang modus operandi na nagbibigay daan sa nakawan sa kaban ng bayan. This is an impeachable offense. Number 2, President Marcos Jr. personally authorized the 213.8 billion pesos in unprogrammed appropriations releases from 2022 to 2025, which funded anomalous projects. Ito ay isang grave abuse of discretionary power na nakabigay sa Presidente under the Administrative Code and the General Appropriations Act ng 2024. Gusto ko lang pong i-cite kung anong nakalagay sa Administrative Code. Section 35, Chapter 5, Book 6 of this code mandates expenditures from lump sum appropriations authorized for any purpose, for any department, office, in any General Appropriations Act shall be made in accordance with the special budget to be approved by the President. Ito rin po ay nakasaad sa Special Provision Number 1 ng 2024 GAA under UA, explicitly providing that ang release ng UA ay subject to the submission of a request to the President and a special budget to be approved by the President pursuant to Section 35 of the Administrative Code. Wala pong lusot. Nakasaad sa mga binanggit nating probisyon sa batas na nasa Pangulo ang huling pasya para gastusin ang unprogrammed appropriations. Mas malala pa kaysa sa bastang-bastang paglipat ng Pangulo ng pondo para sa mga kaduda-dudang flood control projects, ginamit din ng parehong Special Provision Number 1 ng 2024 GAA para utusan ang PhilHealth na magsoli ng 89.9 billion pesos sa National Treasury, na inaming ginamit din para pondohan ang unprogrammed appropriations para raw sa infrastructure projects na di malinaw at di masilip ng lehislatura bilang sila ay nasa unprogrammed appropriations. Kaya naman po, ito ay actually dineclare ng Korte Suprema just this December 2025 na labag sa konstitusyon. Dapat ang Pangulo ay kayang pagkatiwalaan sa paggawa ng mga desisyon para sa kapakanan ng bayan, pero nakakasira ng tiwala ang pag-abuso niya sa paglipat pondo at paggastos para sa unprogrammed appropriations sa mga proyekto na di na nga mabusisi sa transparent na talakayan sa Kongreso at maanomalya pa. Imposibleng di dumaan sa Malacanang ang mga desisyon sa paggamit ng UA. Direktang pananagutan niya ito at hanggang ngayon wala pa ring buong paliwanag sa pinagdalhan ng pera na ito. Pagbasag po ito sa tiwala ng publiko and thus an impeachable offense. At number 3, si President Marcos Jr. ay direktang nag-utos ng budgetary insertions na di bababa sa 100 bilyong piso. Direkta rin daw na nakinabang siya sa di bababa na 8 bilyong piso na ipinadala sa mga tauhan niya. Ito, kung napatunayang totoo, ang pinakamabigat sa lahat. Kailangan ungkatin to para mapatunayan sa dulo kung karapat-dapat pa bang makuha ng Pangulo ang tiwala ng publiko sa kabila ng lahat ng mga nagawa at di nagawa para masira ang tiwalang ito. Walang dahilan para hindi po tumuloy ang complaint na ito sa susunod na yugto ng proseso. The clear recital of facts constituting the offense is provided in the complaint. Kaya naman, Madam Chair, mga kapwa ko mambabatas, sa ngalan ng kabataan, nais kong ipaalala na ang pangalan ng ating komite ay Committee on Justice, na nanawagan ang taong bayan ng hustisya. Nanonood din at nakabantay ang kabataan, much like nung mas bata po ako, ay nakaabang tayo sa mga iba't ibang proseso na nakabinbin para itry ang mga publiko. Kaya naman kami handang ipaglaban ang katarungan at pananagutan, anuman ang maging pasya ng kapulungang ito. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Ko. Now we will hear the manifestation of position of the Honorable Ilago.
Madam Chair, ang verified impeachment complaint laban kay Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. na inendorso ng representasyon na ito ay may malakas at sapat na batayan. Ito ay naglalahad ng 3 malinaw na paglabag na nagpapakita ng pagtataksil sa tiwala ng taong bayan. Una, ang pagpapatupad ng baseline balance managed parametric formula na may basbas ng Pangulo sa paggawa ng pambansang budget. Ginawa itong paraan para gawing lehitimo at nasa disenyo mismo ang political patronage at corruption. Sinasabi mismo sa formula na isasaalang-alang nito ang priorities of leaders. Ibig sabihin, ang pambansang budget ay hindi naaayon sa pangangailangan ng mamamayan. Hindi po iyon ang nauuna, kundi ang nauuna ay yung gusto ng mga nasa kapangyarihan. Pangalawa, ang pag-abuso sa presidential discretionary powers sa unprogrammed appropriations. Bilyon-bilyon, lalo na ang 89.9 billion pesos mula sa pondo ng PhilHealth na para sana sa kalusugan ng mga may hirap at mga nangangailangan ay ginamit sa mga proyektong may anomalies tulad ng mga flood control na overpriced o ghost projects. Ang Pangulo at tanging ang Pangulo lamang mismo ang may kapangyarihan na tuluyang mag-authorize ng release ng 213 billion pesos na unprogrammed appropriations na naging balon ng malawakang korupsyon. Kaya ito ay malinaw na pagtataksil sa tiwala ng taong bayan. At pangatlo, Madam Chair, ang complaint ay nagsasabi na direktang kasangkot mismo ang Pangulo sa sistema ng mga insertions at kickback sa budget. Ang tatlong akto na ito ay seryoso at magkakaugnay. Ang mga ito ay nagpapakita ng isang sistema at disenyo ng pangungurakot sa ilalim ng kasalukuyang administrasyon. Ang mga gawaing ito ay sakop ng malawak na batayan ng betrayal of public trust. At ito ay usapin na pangunahing nakakapudpod ng integridad sa pinakamataas na posisyon at opisina dito sa ating bayan. Kaya't naninindigan kami, ang impeachment complaint na ito ay may sapat na substansya. Ang trabaho ngayon ng komite na ito ay kilalanin na nararapat itong imbestigahan at magkaroon tayo ng hearing kung saan malalantad pa ang katotohanan at magkaroon ng tunay na pananagutan. Dapat kilalanin ang batayan ng reklamong ito, nararapat na dinggin ang hinaing ng taong bayan. Sapat na ang batayan, dapat na itong aksyonan. Maraming salamat.
Thank you, Honorable Elago. That completes the manifestation of position of the endorsers of Masa et al. Impeachment complaint. At this juncture, we are eliciting the comments, opinion, positions of the members of the committee with respect to the sufficiency in substance of Masa et al. Complaint.
Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
The Honorable Lagbas, then Honorable Erice.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just like to manifest some of my observations on the first allegation in the Masa complaint. It's about the BBM parametric formula. While the allegation is grounded upon a paper proposing the adoption of BBM parametric formula, the statement shows that the same is created by DPWH. There is no allegation or statement showing any administrative order, memo, executive order, or any directive executed by the President himself. Secondly, even the statements on alleged kickbacks, Madam Chair, actually, the complaint pertains solely on alleged kickbacks involving DPWH officials and certain legislators and does not show any participation, knowledge, or consent on the part of the President. That's just my observation on the first allegation, Madam Chair.
The Honorable Erice.
Madam Chair, good morning. Matapos kong masusing suriin ang impeachment complaint na inihain ni Lisa Largosa Masa et al. Laban kay Respondent President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., malinaw sa akin na ang reklamo ay sufficient in substance. Batay sa pamantayan ng prima facie sufficiency. Linawin natin, hindi pa natin hihatulan ang Pangulo. Ang tanong lamang ngayon ay ito, kung mapapatunayang totoo ba ang aligasyon, may nagawang impeachable offense ba ang Pangulo Ang sagot, oo. Ang reklamo ay...
All right, that was the lower house
Ongoing,
hearing, Committee on
House-
Justice.
Yes, on the impeachment complaint against President Bongbong Marcos. This time around, they are
Second.
discussing the sufficiency in substance of the
Complaint.
complaint.
Filed by Masa et al. So this is the Makabayan Block
Yeah.
complaint.
At ang target nilang resolution or kumbaga ang kanilang decision would be today.
All right, in sports, Capital One and NX led scoring thrilling victories in the 2026 PVL All-Filipino Conference. Mobile journalist Denise Valdesancho has the report.
The 2026 PVL All-Filipino Conference continued with high-intensity matches yesterday at the Phil Oil Eco Oil Center in San Juan City. Capital One Solar Spikers opened their campaign behind a career high from Bella Belan. After dropping the third set, Belan took over in the fourth, lifting Capital One when it mattered most. Belen unloaded a pro-career high 26 points as Capital One beat Zeus Coffee 25-17, 25-16, 15-25, 25-19. That is on top of her 16 digs and 7 excellent receptions in a statement performance.
Siguro po, inisip ko na lang kung paano pa ako makakapag-contribute pa sa team since may chance na kaming mapanalo yung game. So parang now or never na for us kasi pag rin kami pag hindi kami nag-all out pa that set, meron pa silang chance makakuha sa amin.
Earlier, Next-led Chameleons showed championship composure, rallying past Farm Fresh Foxies in a 5-set thriller, 25-23, 13-25, 21-25, 25-15, 15-12. Packed with a former Petrogas core, Next-led was pushed to the limit by a Farm Fresh squad led by former Petrogas coach Koji Suzurabara. With Brooke Van Sickle now leading the Chameleons, the match quickly turned into a tense back-and-forth duel. Van Sickle finished with 20 points and 11 excellent receptions. Meanwhile, newcomer Myla Pablo made a strong debut with 19 points, while MJ Phillips added 13 to seal the win.
Well, syempre, you can see naman yung game na medyo yung mga lapses na nangyayari. Medyo kulang pa sa communication sa team. Pero kahit pa paano, andyan naman si coach na ginaguide kami sa loob ng board. Yun nga sabi nga ni coach na parang nahanap na din yung dapat kailangan gamitin the 4 sets. Pinakawakan talaga namin yung 4 and team sets na sa amin to. Pagkatrabuhan namin to hanggang sa mapagod gano'n.
Games continue this Thursday, February 5 at the Phil Oil Eco Oil Center in San Juan. Chocomucha Flying Titans finally meet the Sigel Super Spikers 4 p.m., followed by the Creamline Cool Smashers and PLDT High Speed Hitters Clash 6:30 p.m. Kapatid Denise Valdesancho, we are One News.
Are you looking for a colorful and relaxing getaway this Valentine's season? Couples and families are flocking to a blooming flower farm in Nueva Ecija, offering a romantic escape without leaving Luzon. Mobile Journal Daniel Dayao has the details.
Makulay, relaxing, at perfect spot para sa Valentine's Day. Mga kapatid, hindi nyo na po kailangan lumipad papuntang Netherlands dahil ang mga naggagandahang bulaklak sa likod ko nandito lang sa San Antonio, Nueva Ecija.
Patok na pasyalan ngayong buwan ng mga puso ang farm na ito sa Nueva Ecija. Sa lawak kasi ng flower field at nataon pang blooming season, perfect tourist spot this Valentine's ang Farm Villaronte.
Dito sa Nueva Ecija wala tayong tourism ng sa mga flowers. Ang mga tao na pupunta pa sa Baguio.
Makikita sa farm ang iba't ibang bulaklak, katulad na lang ng sunflowers, marigold, celosia, vinca, at verbena.
Mga kapatid, ang bulaklak na nasa likod ko ay tinatawag na Angelonia. Ito ay isang uri ng bulaklak na galing pa mismo sa Thailand. Kaya naman merong color pink, may purple, at may color white.
Awesome. Lots of beautiful flowers. Lots of great things to take pictures with. Decorations in the farm, such as this circle, the airplane, the jeepney. It's a nice experience.
Nakaka-relax po, tsaka ganda ng ambience. Mga lovers, mga couples. Pwedeng dayuhin ang maganda. Dayuhin nyo po, nakaka-relax, parang nakaka-inlove.
Hindi rin nakakabutas bulsa ang pagbisita sa farm na ito. Dahil ang entrance fee, 100 pesos lang. May discount pa sa seniors, PWD, pati na mga bata.
Not bad yung entrance fee. Sulit, very good. Very nice. Early Valentine's. Tayo dito, masarap mag-Valentine's dito. Puro flower. Mag-date kayo dito. Ang sarap dito.
Best time to go ang opening hours mula 6:30 a.m. hanggang 9 a.m. Pero kung trip mong makita ang sunset, bukas ang farm hanggang 6 o'clock p.m. 3 oras ang biyahe mula Manila papunta dito sa San Antonio. Mobile Journal Daniel Dayo po, hatid ang mukha ng balita.
One News and Views anchor Diego Castro has been honored as Tradition Media Educator for Broadcast Media at the 11th Platinum Stallion National Media Awards of the Trinity University of Asia. The recognition highlights his dual role as a broadcaster and educator. In a social media post, Castro expressed his gratitude to the award-giving body, describing the honor as a meaningful intersection of his two passions. He also thanked his colleagues and network for their support.
Ay, si Castro.
Donut.
Ayan. Ay, si
Donut.
Castro, ano ba yan?
Pansit.
Thank you, thank you. Pero yung
Pansit.
award po is on the, I think, 18th or 17th, 6 to 9 p.m. So wala pa po yung award. Actually, nauna pa nga ang Kapatid Network family na nakalaman
Oo, bago ikaw.
Kasi sabi mo, may nag-post ha?
Oo, nakita
may
natin.
May award pala.
Congratulations! We are very proud of you. Of course, ang ating One News family, Signal family, and the whole Kapatid Network.
At dahil sa platform na ito, nabigyan ako pagkakataon maghulma ng mga utak.
Educator.
Educate the educator.
And we would like to extend the congratulations also kay DJ Chacha. She also received an award, a citation for from Trinity University of Asia. And of course, Good Morning Kapatid also citation din from TUWA. So, congratulations mga kapatid. Yan.
Alright, and that wraps up today's episode of News and Views.
Papansit ka naman. Join us again tomorrow, Angela Lagusad Castro.
Game, pansit tayo. And I'm Angelo Castro III. Kapatid, we are One News.
All sides, all the time.